Prinhounda, good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Andrew, and in this session, I am going to be talking to you about studying in Europe. We will touch upon how the approach at a European university may be very different to your course right now at Cardiff, and how being prepared for the differences will get you ready to navigate any situation that you may find yourself in when you're abroad. I'll cover such topics as course structure and semester differences, speaking English and the host language, informality versus formality, and culture shock. Later, I will be joined by my colleague Kim at the end of the session to assist with any questions that you may have. You will be muted throughout this session, so if you do have a question, please submit this via the Q&A function and we will try and answer as many questions as we can. You don't have to wait until the end of the session to ask a question. Please feel free to add them while I'm going through this presentation. Any questions that we do not have the opportunity to answer will be noted and answered via email as soon as possible. If you would like to watch this session again, well, good news, this session will be recorded and accessible to Cardiff University students and graduates after today. When we think about studying in a foreign country, I guess we instantly think of the study experience in the USA, thanks to countless depictions seen in films and TV shows. But studying in Europe, what depiction would you think of? Would you even assume that is that much of a difference to what you're experiencing now at Cardiff? Well, in some cases, in terms of semester structure, there may not be a difference at all, as across Europe and throughout the world. Most universities typically use the two-semester model where you study multiple subjects at once. However, some universities use the block structure. This is where the academic year is divided into smaller blocks and you study one or two subjects over a 4 to 6 week block. You then have several assessment weeks and move on to the next subject. This can be beneficial as there's less of an exam overload at the end of the semester and you get to see your progression through each block and subject. But if you are used to the semester approach, the block structure can be quite daunting and take some time to get used to. If your host follows the same semester structure as in Cardiff, you still may find things a little different, namely your class times and length. Often they can start very early, sometimes from 8 a.m., and finish very late or last for several hours. This is because the smaller tutorial is not part of your timetable, and any further discussion between your lecturers is arranged between each student if needed. In Southern Europe, for example, you may find that you have nothing on in the middle of the afternoon and a 3 hour lecture scheduled when you usually would be getting home from class. In Central Europe and Scandinavia, group projects are a major part of the curriculum. However, it may be a little bit different to what you've experienced so far. Here, everyone must contribute, and you may find that a big chunk of your credits are dependent on the successful completion of the project. It may even be that the group project forms one of the blocks that I spoke about earlier. Who you complete the project with may not be other exchange students, but in fact home students who have had a lot more experience with the process and are already planning where to meet and who needs to do what. After the group is assessed, often each individual member of the group is then assessed separately with an oral exam. You may not have heard of an oral exam before. This type of exam is common for language students, but also may be applicable for students of other disciplines. With oral exams, part of the assessment may be a written assignment and then a follow-up discussion to explain your findings. The oral exam is to give you the opportunity to discuss what the project or your assignment was about and your level of engagement. This is one of those situations where the phrase fake it till make it just does not cut it. Thankfully, though, you don't have to do it in front of a crowd, but just in front of your lecturer and assessor. But nonetheless, they are still quite nerve-wracking. You are given ample time to prepare, so if you are shy or not a natural conversationalist, don't worry. There's always room for improvement. If you are already aware of where you'd like to study, look at the partner's website to get a feel of how they operate, and you can also contact directly or ask students who went the year before. As mentioned, You may find that you're not just in classes with other exchange students, you're going to be in classes with home students, and doubly so if your course is in English, as these students will want the opportunity to learn and develop their own level of English. In certain situations, you may be the only student from Cardiff University or even the UK. This may give rise to situations where you're not instantly understood even though you're speaking English. Sentence structure, pronunciation, phrases that may be so common to you or I may be brand new to those around you. Even nodding your head and using a certain hand gesture may mean something entirely different. I studied in Denmark, and I can think of countless examples when I was not understood, from telling the time, ordering a drink, or many times people thought I was saying first day instead of Thursday, which then confused them even more because they looked to me for help with their English. So be prepared that not everyone will speak English. If you're going to Northwestern Europe and Scandinavia, English is widely spoken and you will get by with the basics of the host language for everyday situations. But elsewhere in Europe, you're going to need to familiarize yourself with the language to get by outside of the university environment. Also, be aware of the language in which your classes will be delivered. Even if you're not a languages student, the course may not be in English. Crucial information like this is usually made clear to you when you put in your application, but it's always a good idea to double check. If you have never studied languages before, preparing now with Language for All and even Duolingo is a good start. When you arrive, if you're given the opportunity to take an introductory language course, take it as you'll not only learn about the language, but the culture too, and typical foods of the country, and sometimes even get to try it. And of course, don't worry about becoming fluent in the host language before you go. There will be many opportunities for you to learn and pick up the language while you're abroad. How you're treated as a student and how you treat your lecturers can come down to cultural differences, and it's good to prepare in advance of what is expected of you when you're studying in a particular country. You're no longer just a UK student, you'll be a student in France, Spain, Czech Republic, or even Sweden, and how you navigate your university life may be very different. In some countries, you may find that your relationship with your lecturers is very formal. Some may ask that you address them as their full titles, doctor, professor, or they're seen as very stoic and serious. You may be even afraid of raising your hand to ask a question. Of course, you may already have this in Cardiff too, but a lot of places in Europe is more prevalent due to the differences in formal language and how higher education is viewed. On the other hand, your relationship with your lecturers may be incredibly informal and you're only required to address them by their first name, or you may even get to know them outside of the classroom. For example, I studied in Copenhagen, which although has a population twice the size of Cardiff, the city centre is very compact and it was very typical to regularly see lecturers after class, out shopping, or one time I met a lecturer on a Saturday evening when she was singing on the street with her guitar. It was a bit odd for me at first, but I soon learned that this is normal within Scandinavia due to the relaxed attitudes towards education and life in general. You may find that if an issue does arise while you're abroad, it can appear as if your host doesn't appreciate what you're saying or may come across as not caring. This can be because of a number of things. They have seen it all before and are unfazed by the situation, or the level of support they offer is different to the experience in the UK, where the overall student experience is part of the package. This includes studying, extra support needs, and recreation. So, quite simply, it may not be their job to help you. Or even culturally, the expectation of extra support is not normal. Instead, you're supposed to figure things out for yourself or go elsewhere for support. If any time you're experiencing issues, always reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. Hopefully, your time abroad will be very enjoyable and a great success. But there is a common obstacle that can catch anyone off guard: culture shock. This is a term to describe the feelings and anxiety felt when people must operate within an entirely different cultural or social environment, such as a foreign country, and this generally sets in after the first few weeks of arriving to a new place. The level of culture shock can depend on the level of difference between your home life and your new life, so it can be considered culture shock when you move from high school into university, for example. Culture shock when abroad can come across as if the life we lived before is now almost alien. Everything is different, from not being able to speak the language, nobody speaking your language, not being able to find your favorite items at the supermarket, or even just the difference in getting on and off the bus. You may think, oh, that's nothing, but going abroad can come as a massive shock to your system and affect your health and well-being in many ways. Typical symptoms of culture shock can include feelings of sadness, loneliness, disruptions in your sleeping pattern, complete avoidance of everything, missing classes, staying in your room, and sometimes completely rejecting your new home and developing stereotypical views of those around you. There is no one set way of overcoming culture shock, but it can be taken as an opportunity for you to develop and better understand yourself and reevaluate your situation abroad and what it is at home that you're missing. If you start to miss a particular food, ask someone from home to send it to you or try cooking it and sharing it with your new friends. Even invite family members or friends from home to come and experience your new life, even just for the weekend. If you feel that you are struggling, that is okay. Not everyone is living their best life, and others may be struggling too, but not letting on in the same way. Be patient with yourself and maintain contact with other students. Remember, they are in the same position and the experience is brand new to them too. Then, after several months of being abroad, it may be time for you to leave your home and return to UK. You may then experience reverse culture shock, more so if you don't go home while you're abroad. Once you return, everything in your host country may be seen as marvelous, and at home you'll be thinking, has it always been like this? Or in my case, when I returned to the UK, I thought, why does it smell of onions and garlic? There have been lots of studies on culture shock, so if you would like to learn more, search for the stages of culture shock. Hopefully, you'll only ever experience the honeymoon phase. A lot of the topics covered in this session can vary from university to university, country to country. To get a head start, research into your chosen locations. If you cannot find the information, please do let us know and we'll be happy to follow up for you. You may be interested in a session coming up on Thursday at 3 p.m., a live talk with one of our partners in Germany, University of Bremen. This partner is open up to students from several academic schools, but the talk may be useful to find out what it's like to live and study in Germany. We will now open the floor to you and answer any questions that you may have about studying in Europe.
Hi Andrew, so we've got one question in already and it's related to academic performance. So the student is asking, are there any academic performance requirements that they need to take into consideration before applying for a semester abroad in the third year of their international relations and politics course? So I think that's second year anyway, isn't it? But please feel free to take that.
Yeah, it's usually 60%, is it?
Yeah, that's it. So I think it does average around a 2-1 in most schools, but it is dependent on the academic score. So it's worth checking with the exchange coordinator. So as Andrew suggested on the slide there, you can search spend time abroad and then you can find your school specific page and the contact details of the coordinator. But my understanding is politics international relations students may go in second year, so it's worth finding out about that now. But if you have any more questions, email go@cardiff.ac.uk too. Any more questions? Give it a couple of minutes. I know they take a while to come through sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got another one coming through. So that is, do I need to be fluent in the language of whatever European country I complete my year abroad in?
Not really. Well, if you're a languages student, you need to be at a certain level. And even if you're not a languages student and still your course isn't in English, you still need to be at a certain level, but it's not a fluent level. It's usually about B2, which I don't know even know what that correlates to.
There's a self-assessment grid on the intranet page for anybody who wants to check their language level. If you search on Erasmus Plus forms, or we can always point you in the right direction if you want to get in touch. Yeah, there's an explanation. I know some students may not be aware of the different levels. It can get a bit confusing, so we can always provide that grid.
Yeah.
The partner should let each student know if there's a level of language requirement as well, dependent on how many modules are available in English.
And they don't expect you to be incredibly fluent because there are other students who are going abroad to learn the language. And so that's one of the parts of the exchange is for you to learn the language. So to even expect you to be incredibly fluent before arriving is probably very, very rare.
We've got another question coming here. It says, I'm studying history and French. Is it possible for me to spend time abroad apart from my compulsory year abroad for French? As a student would really like to spend a semester studying somewhere else. Did you want to take that one, Andrew, or did you want me to take it? I don't mind.
You can take that one.
Yeah, okay. So as you already have a year abroad as part of your degree, there won't be another time for you to spend time abroad, unfortunately. So you'll have that compulsory year, and then you'll have to return to Cardiff for your final year. We do offer summer placements. That is something that's offered through Cardiff University. But students at Cardiff are only eligible for funding to take part in one sort of international experience. So you wouldn't be eligible to go on both a summer course and a year abroad, unfortunately. But you're more than welcome to look at those independently during the summer. But it won't be an additional sort of semester as part of your degree, unfortunately. I hope that answers your question. The next question is, where do I apply?
I think that's another question for you because
yeah, I'm happy to say that.
Time to talk about the session coming up.
Yes, exactly. So we have a session coming up on Thursday about the application process for completing a European exchange. That'll be at 1 p.m. as well, but you should have access to that on the Discover Global Opportunities Week page. When and where you apply depends on what you're studying and when you're due to go, but generally applications open around a year in advance of when you are due to go. So for example, students going abroad next September, so September 2021, the application process is sort of starting now, but you will get sent the application instructions from your school if you are eligible to apply. So if you'd like to provide some more information about your course, we can try and answer that more specifically, but otherwise you can email us with further questions. Okay, let's see if there's any more coming through. So the next one is, with places like the USA and Canada, there are a lot of financial requirements. Are there any for Europe?
Well, the financial requirements for Europe are a little bit different compared to each country. And at the moment, in terms of visa and documenting that you're able to support yourself financially, still fairly unknown. So at the moment, we don't have that exact information, but we will publish it once we do have it.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Just hang on a couple more minutes for any more questions coming through as well. While we're waiting for some more questions, I'm just going to post the link to the survey as well. If anybody wouldn't mind completing this, it'll help us out a lot. So bear with me a second. Can't see any more coming through just yet, but I know you might still have some questions that you haven't thought of, so we will stay online for a few more minutes in case you think of anything.
Yeah, there must be something you can think of.
Nothing new coming through just yet. If you don't have any more questions, you are welcome to leave the session, because that is all the information from us. We're just going to hang around if there's any more specific questions from you. But as Andrew said, this session will be made available for you if you want to rewatch it at any point as well.
And if you do think of a question, please just email us at erasmus@cardiff.ac.uk or go@cardiff.ac.uk. We're always on hand to help for any query, big or small.
Looks like that might be all of them.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions for today.
Seems like it. So I think we'll be able to close this event and just thank you all for attending. Hope you found the information useful.
And please do join us for our other sessions. You can see the timetable of talks on the student intranet.